Headlines. President Tinubu assents to new Investment and Securities Act 2025. Senegal's parliament adopts a revision of a law granting amnesty for deadly political violence passed by former President Macky Sall. World Bank approves $1.8 billion to finance education, nutrition and economic resilience in Nigeria. Thanks for joining us. Here is an abridged version of the news. A minimum of 10-year jail term and 20 million naira fine now awaits those found guilty of promoting Ponzi schemes in Nigeria. This follows the signing by President Tinubu of the Investment and Securities Bill 2024. Other highlights of the law, as explained by the Chairman Senate Committee on Capital Markets, Senator Osita Ozunaso, include the recognition of cryptocurrency as a form of security in Nigeria, and this will enable Nigerians trade in digital assets under the regulation of the Securities and Exchange Commission to ensure transparency and protect investors.
Insider trading and market manipulations are over. Today, if you are caught in a Ponzi market arrangement, you have a risk of going to jail for 10 years. And also pay a fine of over 20 million naira to 40 million naira. And all the money that you took from people will also be recovered from you. It's an economic sabotage not only for the country, but also for the people involved.
The committee chairman says the new investment and securities law is a game changer, as it would strengthen the capital and money market to enable Nigeria achieve the $1 trillion economy and positioning Nigeria as the investment destination in Africa. The act also requires all public companies to obtain approval from SEC before mergers, acquisitions, or issuing securities to promote transparency and ensure compliance with best global practice. Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived at Dakar, Senegal, to represent President Bola Tinubu at the country's 65th Independence Day anniversary celebrations. The Vice President's attendance at the annual event is in honor of an invitation extended to President Tinubu by the Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, following the strong mutual relationship between Nigeria and Senegal. The Independence Day celebrations will be held at the Place de la Nation in Dakar, with President Faye playing host to Vice President Shettima and other distinguished guests from across Africa and beyond. The Vice President is expected to return to Nigeria after the one-day event. Senegal's parliament has adopted a revision of a law granting amnesty for deadly political violence passed by the former President Macky Sall. Comfort Fashion reports that it has sparked fierce public debate.
The amnesty was granted just before the March 2024 elections as former President Macky Sall sought to calm protests sparked by his last-minute postponement of the vote. Critics say the move was designed to shield perpetrators of serious crimes committed during 3 years of political tensions between February 2021 and February 2024. However, it also allowed the popular opposition figure, Usman Sonko, who is now Prime Minister, to stand in the elections after court convictions had made him ineligible, as well as Diomaye Faye, who won the presidency. Lawmakers adopted a revision of the law that removed murder, killings, torture, and forced disappearance from amnesty. About 126 deputies voted for the measure, with 20 against in the 165-member assembly. Amnesty International's executive director for Senegal, Seydi Gassama, said a repeal would just revert the situation to where it began. Comforts, Fashion, NTA News.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced sweeping global tariffs that analysts say is threatening to ignite an unprecedented trade war. The U.S. president held up a chart in the White House Rose Garden outlining what he said were the reciprocal tariffs each country would face. Comfort Fashion will run us through the effect of tariffs on global economy.
Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia. Oh, look at Cambodia, 97%. We're going to bring it down to 49%. They made a fortune with the United States of America. United Kingdom, 10%. And we'll go 10%. So we'll do the same thing. South Africa, 60%, 30%. And they've
Donald Trump's tariffs announcement is generating so much reactions from countries affected, and experts on Global Economic Watch say this could trigger a boomerang effect or consequences. Nigeria is one among many African countries affected by the tariffs announced by United States Presidents Donald Trump on Wednesday, and goods from Nigeria will now attract a 14% tariff.
America was the big elephant in the room when they were able to create the control of the dollar or the dollarization of the global economy. And it's important to do this, or we know this. So if we also now begin to now strengthen our naira to the point that what we are bringing to the market becomes what everybody wants, we can also begin to talk as stuff America is talking.
The list of affected countries in Africa indicates that goods from Madagascar now faces a 47% tariff, Tunisia a 28% tariff, Egypt a 10% tariff, Cote d'Ivoire a 21% tariff, Botswana a 37% tariff, Morocco a 10% tariff, and Algeria a 30% tariff. From the EU, the tariffs were described as a major blow to the world economy, while China vowed retaliation, and Australia said it is not the act of a friend. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer reiterated that economic impact imposed by the tariffs is inevitable.
Now, clearly there will be an economic impact from the decisions that the US has taken, both here and globally.
Let's be clear-eyed about the immense consequences. The global economy will massively suffer. Uncertainty will spiral and trigger the rise of further protectionism.
Imposition of tariffs has been a major policy of President Donald Trump since he assumed office a few months ago. He has the belief that tariffs can boost the U.S. economy, while global reaction indicates that this may be true, but it could have adverse ripple effects on not only the American economy, but the world economy. Comforts, Fashion, NTA News.
To effectively provide Nigerians with dividends of democracy, Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu says political leaders must always put the people first, demonstrating non-partisan disposition in their service to the people. She was speaking at a meeting with traditional rulers in Bayelsa State during her one-day working visit to the state to flag off a free medical outreach and other interventions by the Niger Delta Development Commission. Soliciting the support of traditional rulers for some of the advocacy programs of Renewed Hope Initiative in health and education. The First Lady notes that the first priority of every leader must be the well-being of the people.
But I can assure you, politics or no politics, the first priority for me is to make sure that we bring the dividends of democracy to our people. Our people as Nigerians first. When it comes to elections, everybody will go onto their camp. We are to, Mr. President is, I will call him the MOP Emeritus. Is MOP Emeritus? We are very peaceful people.
Accompanied by the state governor, the First Lady was received by the chairman, Bayelsa State Traditional Rulers Council, His Royal Majesty Buba Raye Dakolo Agada IV, Ibinanowe of Ekpetiama Kingdom.
We received some young men who are contractors. They've been approved by the President of Nigeria to complete the road from Nimbe to Brass. The Bayelsans are so happy for this.
The World Bank has approved 3 operations in Nigeria, totaling $1.08 billion in concessional financing to enhance education quality, build household and community resilience, as well as improve nutrition for underserved groups. This includes $500 million in additional financing for the Nigerian Community Action for Resilience and Economic Stimulus (NG Cares) program, $80 million for accelerating nutrition results in Nigeria, and $500 million for Hope for quality basic education for all. Statement by the bank released Wednesday says the NG Cares program will support the government in expanding access to livelihood support, food security services and grants for poor and vulnerable households and communities. The financing for Anring aims to increase the utilization of quality and cost-effective nutrition services for pregnant women and lactating mothers, adolescent girls and children under 5 in select areas, while the new financing for Hope Edu will focus on improving foundational learning, access to basic education and strengthening education systems in the participating states. The Central Bank of Nigeria, INEC, has concluded the verification of signatures on the petition to recall Senator Natasha, representing Kogi Central Senatorial District. The Commission notes the total number of registered voters in the Senatorial District is 474,554. Across the 902 polling units in 57 registration areas and 5 local government areas that make up the Senatorial District. The Commission ascertained 208,132 signatures and thumbprints from the submission made by the petitioners. This translates to 43.86% of the registered voters, which falls short of the constitutional requirement by 29,146 signatories. This shows the petition has not met the requirement of Section 69A of the Constitution. Statement by INEC National Commissioner for Information, Sam Olumekon, therefore says no further action shall be taken on the recall of the senator. The MD Abubakar Blue Room once again came alive, this time around without the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, but a significant moment as Air Vice Marshal Olushola Akimboiwa, the outgoing Director of Public Relations and Information, handed over his duties to Air Commodore Ehimen Ejadame as his successor. Defense correspondent Olajide Bello reports.
After years of dedicated service, Air Vice Marshal Olushola Akimboiwa is appointed Director of Civil Military Relations at the Defense Headquarters, a role that acknowledged his outstanding leadership and dedication. Air Vice Marshal Akimboiwa said serving as the Director of Public Relations and Information has been an incredible journey of fostering transparency, built bridges of understanding and strengthened the bond between the military and the public in line with the Chief of the Air Staff Command philosophy.
I'm humbled by that level of support, and I want to encourage you to please extend that same support and cooperation to my brother as he takes over this very challenging office.
Taking the symbolic handover document from the table, a sleek leather-bound folder embossed with the NAF's emblem, AVM Akimboiwa presented it to Air Commodore Ejodame, exchanging a firm handshake, a gesture of respect and continuity.
I wish to express my profound gratitude to the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Bala Abubakar, distinguished flying staff, for the trust reposed on me to undertake this very big task, of which I pray and pledge to give nothing short of my very best.
With a final nod to his successor, he walked out of the room, ready to embrace the next chapter of his distinguished career. Olajide Bello, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has inaugurated a committee to organize a regional security conference that will be attended by chiefs of defense staff of African countries. The Chief of Defense Staff notes that the summit, which will take place in Abuja, is expected to strengthen cooperation, enhance defense ties, and Nigeria's leadership in military diplomacy across the continent.
This summit is a defining moment for Nigeria as a leading force in Africa's defense and security landscape. As such, your efforts will lay the foundation for a summit meant to strengthen cooperation, enhance defense ties, and Nigeria's leadership in military diplomacy across the continent. This summit has to be a grand and remarkable event, one befitting of Nigeria's status as a continental giant. It will bring together military leaders from across Africa, and we must ensure that it reflects our nation's excellence, strength, and organizational prowess.
It's about time that African defense chiefs begin to speak to themselves. And this creates the platform for this to begin.
The platform is to upscale intelligence sharing in the ongoing quest to further secure the region. And that's the news on NTA International. I am Stella Inameti. The sign language interpreter is Taiwo Ozoma.